Hi everyone, it's Tamika, and I go by pronouns she and her, and this is probably one of the first or the few walking videos that I made. I'm out with my little buddy, and even though it's not the nicest of day, we're just taking it all in. But I wanted to pose the question, have you ever wondered if your trauma from your formative years shows up in the relationships that you have as an adult with family members, particularly with your parents? And one of the things I'm recognizing is that it's becoming more and more triggering for me, to the point where I have to really make it known what my boundaries are. And I think I've been way too porous with my boundaries. And in the end, I'm the one who's negatively impacted. I'm the one left holding the emotional dirt bag, so to speak. And it feels like I'm being dumped on all over again. And that's just not something that you want or need to be dealing with when you're already an ill person, when you're already living with illness, when you're already living with pain, as it's obvious that I am, because I've spoken about it so openly. And I find that oftentimes we revert back to our old selves in the way we communicate with people, or the way we have people communicating with us. And we don't even recognize it, no matter how hard you might think you're trying to not let that be the case. You just fall back into those old patterns, and it really does take work to break those patterns. And I know for myself, I'm willing to shed a lot of things, both physically and spiritually and emotionally. And that means putting up boundaries with people, including family members, who just don't seem to understand the level of negativity and the way it ricochets in someone who's already living and coping with something. And for us as Black women too, we're kind of expected to just take it. We're kind of expected to just be like, well, that's just how so-and-so is, or that's just how it's always been. Just because that's how it's always been, that doesn't mean it's okay. That doesn't mean that you should accept it and live with it and that it's totally fine. And it doesn't mean that what's happened to you in your formative years is not going to come back, and it's not going to manifest in some way, especially if you haven't really dealt with it in any kind of impactful way. And I'm trying to hold it together because I don't want to be seen as someone who is just completely ungrateful, because my suffering has meant suffering for my family as well. But there's unhealthy dynamics there that hurt everyone involved. And if something isn't done to change it, we'll just be going around the same merry-go-round and not getting anywhere. So ask yourself that. Have you been negatively impacted by your historical traumas? Are you still carrying them into current relationships? Are you still in relationship with people that you have had that historical traumas with and that have never really fully been addressed? Or are you still allowing people to basically violate your boundaries, and you're not really doing anything about it because you want to get along to get along? Have you ever wondered why sometimes old people in old age homes, for example, long-term care, they're in those facilities and they don't have anybody that comes to look for them, and you think, where's their family? Where are their children, their grandchildren, their friends, their neighbors? But people forget that what people remember most often is not the words that you say, it's how you make them feel. And it's usually when you're in your most vulnerable that you're going to see the way people feel about you, especially with the way that you've interacted with them over the years. And that's not to say I'm not promoting elder abuse. I'm not promoting isolating seniors. But it's something to consider when you think about the way you're treating people closest to you, who you claim are your family members that you have love for, but you just are not treating them in the way that they need to be treated. People need to recognize that there's a way to handle and interact with a person who is ill, who is sick. I've said many times, chronic pain. I've said it over and over. I made a video earlier today about the successful referral I got. But it's almost as if all that goes, like I said, to the wayside and we slip back into our old patterns. So I just putting it out there. Keep your boundaries up. Just keep your boundaries up. Listen to Black women, amplify our voices. We don't need to be anybody's emotional dumping ground. Listen to Black women. Thanks, everyone. And get back to enjoying the walk.